Welcome back to Rose Red Studios, where we talk about all things storytelling. This video is part of my Path to Publishing series I'm doing as part of my 6-month challenge to change my life. I'm specifically focusing on changing my life in terms of careers. I'm going for a career as a full-time author, and as part of that, I've had to do a ton of research on all the different things that you could possibly need to do in order to take your book from manuscript to published book. I am focusing on self-publishing, so this video is more about that. There's a lot of great resources out there if you want to go for a more traditional publishing platform, but this is about self-publishing, and this is going to be the best extensive list that I have come up with so far of all the things you need to think about and do on your journey to self-publishing. So I'm sure this is not a comprehensive list. I'm sure that there will be more things that we will come up with as we go along, but this is a good starting point. So I recommend grabbing a pen and paper. And as usual, I'm gonna do this list out while you watch me draw something, because do we really want to just sit here and stare at my face while I go through all the stuff that you need to do? So let's go to the iPad, start doing a little drawing, and cover everything you need to think about before you push publish on your novel. Let's get started here with my list of things that I am going through and accomplishing in preparation for the self-publication of my debut novel in October. I am planning pre-orders to go up in July, but what I have learned is that not everything needs to be done by the pre-order date. It looks like print-on-demand companies, from what I'm reading, actually start printing your books, like books that have been pre-ordered, within like 2 weeks of the release date. So I feel like I'm just my goal to be like have everything done and in the system like a month in advance of the official release, so I know everything is good there. But you don't have to have everything perfect by your pre-order date. It just needs to be up in the system. So let's start with like editing. If you are to the stage where you're looking into, self-publishing, you might already have a process for this. I'm just going to go over real quick my process and some tools that have helped me. So the first thing I did was run the entire manuscript through the free version of Grammarly. I wrote it with, I guess you could say, guardrails off. Nothing particular that I did in advance. Just wrote it straight through. And I ran the whole manuscript through the free version of Grammarly. I printed it out. I read it in printed form because you always see things better in printed form, or you see different things. And I was fairly satisfied from the very beginning with my structure and my plot and my characters. I didn't find anything I need to like majorly change about that, which is fortunate. So I was able to go straight in from there. I started using Pro Writer's Aid to do a more extensive edit of like all the nitpicky little things. I've got 2 videos on here already on how I use Pro Writer Aid and like what I think it's worth for and what I don't think it's worth for. So you can go check those out if you want a like better idea of how to use Pro Writer's Aid. I then have given it to an alpha reader, and he is giving me a very extensive line-by-line edit. I am fortunate to have people in my life who are inherently just good at that. I'm a reader, so I have reader friends, and they are very good. If you don't have that, you might need to look into a paid-for copy editor or developmental editor, whatever you feel like you need. There's a pretty big price range of what that costs. I think it's really worth it to do your research on that to see what you feel like would best suit you in terms of that. From there, I'm giving it, after he's finished, and I've been working on his edits in and deciding what I do and do not agree with on him, because, an editor still is going to come to your work with a level of opinion, and you need to decide what, in your opinion, is a good question or not. And there are a few things that I'm not listening to necessarily with his. I'm just keeping as a background note, and I'm going to let beta readers look at that and tell me if they already also have an issue or if that's just him. Because there are some things that might just be specifically the alpha reader that they don't know about your genre, or they, something that doesn't necessarily stands out to them is just like a personal preference. And so those things I'm keeping in the background with the idea of see how beta readers feel about that. And that is the next stage I'm going into. I picked a selection of beta readers some people who are in my genre, some people who read outside my genre, so I can get an overview idea. Yes, I am playing this a little fast and loose by having beta readers reading it at the same time that I have it up for pre-orders, but that is how we are playing this because things need to get moving. So that is my general editing process that I am working through. The next thing that needs to be paid attention to is the formatting. You unfortunately should not just upload your Microsoft Word document or a PDF made off of it straight to Kindle Unlimited or whatever you're planning on publishing through. It is good to actually do a full format of that novel. Now, you can hire people to do this for you. I am instead choosing to learn to do it myself so that as I publish more and more novels, I'm not paying for that every single time. That's something I can handle myself. And I'm going to use the program called Atticus. I will be doing a review and tutorial on this project hopefully later this month, or this program later this month. But in essence, this program is pre-designed to create formats for like the two major publishing platforms, Amazon and Ingram Sparks. We'll go in those in just a second. But this program is specifically designed to do that, and that is what you need. You need those two, those format specifications from those two platforms, and to have a program that like understands those two platforms and is auto formatting for those, and you can choose which one you want to do, or if you want both, a file that represents both, like that is invaluable. You also need to figure out like what formats you want to release your book in, which I would say like ebook is the most important. From all the research I'm doing, the vast majority of books sold right now are in ebook or through Amazon's Kindle Unlimited program. I actually saw one author admit that, like, an author who's doing this full time, living off her writing full time, said 70% of her income comes from Kindle Unlimited alone. So, ebook, you absolutely want to have that format first and foremost. And Amazon does have like some specific requirements with ebooks about like how the table of contents is created and things like that, and Atticus actually just does that for you. You don't have to worry about creating a linked bookmark section the way that their system requires, because they will reject you if you don't have that very specific table of contents put in. So like things like that Atticus just does for you, which is why I am choosing to use them. They have several preset options in there that you can choose from, and then you can also choose to not only make your own, you can take one of their preset options and make it editable so you can adapt it. One thing you need to think about is imagery and interior book design, right? Like a lot of books now have a lot of interesting things on the interior, and I think it is good to at least make your book stand out in some way. Most authors, if they're doing like dual point of views, will start a chapter with an image that represents whoever that chapter is going to be a point of view of. I have considered a lot of different options, and I think that I'm more going to go with like a pattern design, again, which we will get into on the video specifically on formatting. But that is something to really think about. I would recommend like looking at the interiors of books that are popular right now a little bit more closely, and just see what aligns for like what's the standard in your genre to start with. Like that's really important. Also, you want to go through and look at all the additional pages that were required in addition to the story itself. So like dedications and acknowledgments, and what you should put regarding like how people can contact you or look your other work up, or like what upcoming books are. Like look at popular books from your genre, other self-published authors, that sort of thing. See what they're doing, and like you kind of want to at like a minimum do what they're doing, right? I don't think every person needs to have like a fully illustrated book like some people are doing right now. Like you have to work within some level of your limits. Like know your limits, work within that. There are some authors who are doing crazy interior design books, and I am impressed, but there are limitations I have, and I cannot illustrate every chapter. I can't do that. So that's something you need to decide for yourself, but I would say decide on some level of interior book design to, show you are at least to the industry standard on that. Next, we want to move into publishing. The first thing you need to know is we all need to have what are called ISBN numbers. And you need to have a unique ISBN number for every format your book is in. So if you have a hardcover, paperback, and ebook, all of those need their own ISBN. If you at some point do a special edition in whatever format, but just a special edition that has additional pages or artwork or things like that, that will need another separate ISBN number. Amazon will offer you what's called we're generally referred to as an ASIN, and they'll tell you it's free, which it is. But the key with that is if you use their free ASIN, you cannot publish it anywhere else. You cannot sell your book on any other platform. You can't use Ingram, Sparks, any of that. You have to have your own ISBN number, which you've paid for. Apparently you don't have to pay in Canada for these things, but in America you do. And you need one for each individual format. Now, one thing to be really, really clear on when you go and purchase an ISBN is to ensure that you're purchasing it from that one authorized company that sells them. There's currently a scam going on where people are buying ISBNs and then trying to resell them, and they're reselling them for cheaper, and so people do it, and then you can't go in and register your information to ISBNs that someone else is selling. That is something you have to buy directly. There's only one company that's authorized to sell them, so make sure you buy from that company. I forget the information on that right now, but definitely make sure you're buying them from the correct place. Now, another thing we need to keep in mind is like how you're going to sell these books. Like I said, there's two major platforms: Kindle or KDP is Amazon, and Ingram Sparks. The difference primarily is Amazon systems, KDP and Kindle Unlimited, only sell on Amazon. Ingram Sparks, you'll get wide distribution. It's not going to be in the bookstores at Barnes & Noble's, but you can set it up so that people can buy it online at Barnes & Noble's, which some people appreciate. Some people don't want to buy from Amazon, and so they like the option of buying it somewhere else. If you want to sell it to bookstores, like do indie bookstores, you need to have it on Ingram Sparks in general. I mean, you can work one-on-one with the bookstore and work things out, but it's good to have it in the distribution system. That being said, Kindle Unlimited is the primary way that a lot of authors are making money right now. And Kindle Unlimited requires you to exclusively list your ebook on Amazon. And at this point, I personally think that's worth it because it's just where most people are making their money off of self-published books, and it doesn't seem to make a difference to have your ebook listed everywhere else. I recently saw an author talking about how when she had her book on Kindle Unlimited, she was making $900 a month, and then she moved her ebook to wide distribution because she felt like, oh, I have enough readers now. I can go to like wide distribution, and her royalties went down to $900 a year. And so she just gave up on that and went back to exclusively offering the ebook through Amazon. That being said, you can offer the other formats of your book through Ingram Sparks. At this stage, I think what I'm going to do is offer a hard copy through Ingram Sparks and do the paperback through Kindle Unlimited and KDP, because you're still going to make the majority of your sales through Amazon of paperbacks. And from what I understand, from what other authors are telling me, like they make more money on their paperback sales through Amazon, so it's still worth it to them. But it is nice to have a hard copy available so that, you can have that at stores. You can put that on pre-order. That is a thing. If you can put your ebook for pre-order on Amazon, you can't put paperback or hardback, which also, to be clear, apparently Amazon's KDP systems hardbacks are terrible. Their quality just kind of stinks, and it's best if you're going to do a hard copy to do it through Ingram Sparks. The quality is better. And if you do things through Ingram Sparks, you can put pre-orders on for the hard copies. My goal right now, I think, and I will check in when I'm done, and I'll let you know how everything goes. Right now is to do pre-orders for the ebook through Amazon, pre-orders for the hard copy through Ingram Sparks, and then have a paperback go live on publication date on Amazon through KDP. That is my current goal. We will check in at some point and let you know if that's the way things worked out. But that is my goal right now. So we've got your editing, your formatting, we've decided on publishing. You will need to get a cover. Obviously, I am designing my own cover And I'm going to go through that whole process once I get there. I'm not doing a cover reveal until August 27th, so the cover video on how I created that will be posted after that. But in the meantime, there are a lot of options if you don't want to design your own cover. There's some companies that handle that. My main thing I would say is stay away from anything that's doing AI art. And I know that sounds a little rough for people who don't have a huge budget, because AI is cheap. However, a lot of promotional companies, a lot of reviewers, a lot of ARC readers are openly saying that they will not read books that have covers designed in AI, and readers in general will kind of give a backlash against your book if that is discovered. And the reason being is they're not trying to be mean, but like AI art steals from real artists. That is the long and the short of it. And if we don't want our writing stolen to give to AI writers, I don't think that we should engage with stealing artists' work to create covers. Again, there are options that you can help work around this. You can work with the author. There's a lot of ways to design it on your own. I recently saw a discussion on using Canva to do covers, and according to the legal team at Canva, they were fine with people using Canva and using elements in Canva to create covers, as long as those covers significantly manipulated the elements. Don't just take someone's design in Canva and print it on your book cover with your book name on it. They want you to do editing to it and create it your own. But they are fine with you using the elements. Again, at least according to the discussion I heard on YouTube that was contacting Canva's legal department on this, they are fine with you using elements in Canva to create your book cover from. And if Amazon or anyone has an issue with that, Canva's legal team is ready and willing to confirm that they are good with that. So there are options for you to, create your own cover at a lower cost, and we can go through that process. As I go through that process, I am drawing my own cover here in Procreate, like this design I'm doing right now. This is character art that I'm just going to use for marketing, but this is in essence the same way I'm designing the cover itself. And the publishing platforms will give you templates when you can type in the size of print you want and the number of pages, and it will give you a template that you can then use as the background for your cover, so you know exactly what size to make it, where your spine will be in relation to your image, how wide you need your image to go over the edge in order to be full breed. These things will all be created for you in the template, so you're not just starting from scratch guessing, where your spine will be or anything like that. The publishing platforms themselves help you with that. So there are a lot of options. We will continue to work on the concept of a cover. You will need different cover formatting for ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Obviously, again, the formatting, the systems themselves will help you figure that out. Lastly, we're going to go into marketing, which nobody likes. I get that. Marketing is the hard part of the whole thing. I totally understand that, but we got to do it. If you don't want to do marketing that, I'm sorry. That's just, you either got to have a ton of money, to put in to have everyone else market this for you, or you got to market. And the best thing to do is to just accept that up front and do it. So one of the first things I did was create an aesthetic for my marketing because I wanted it to be cohesive. And I honestly just went into Canva and started playing around with a lot of the designs they had. And it took me a couple of hours just trying things and looking at their, designs that they have and over until I kind of came to an aesthetic that I liked for the book. It's a trial and error thing. I typed in color palettes into Pinterest and tried out a couple of different color palettes. I found one that's a little bit wider, has a fair amount of colors in it, but they all go together. And that is what I am using for all of my designs, so everything looks really cohesive. You can tell from this picture right here that reds, greens, and yellows are kind of where I'm going with the color palette for this. But I have picked specific reds, specific yellows, specific greens that will show up over and over again rather than just randomly choosing them. Because this is a book that takes place in the 1880s, Victorian era, I am also leaning a lot on like botanicals and florals and lace patterns and things like that to kind of just give an aesthetic that relates to the time era the book takes place in. So this is not something that you need to come up with the minute you sit down to think about it. Look at other books in your genre, look at what other authors are doing. Don't just copy them, but get an idea of like what the general aesthetic is for your specific genre, and then just experiment. And don't be mad at yourself if it doesn't immediately come to you. Again, this was something I did over the course of a couple of days, and then when I started to get like the imagery and the color palettes and stuff like that, I tried a couple of different styles for creating character art. It didn't happen right away, but I really committed to creating an aesthetic, and so I was able to find it fairly quickly in terms of like overall. It took me like a total of a week or two to like develop a color palette and an aesthetic, and then like several hours in Canva to like come through like what I want to be posting. So right now I am posting every day to Instagram, and I am trying to create into a pattern of doing 5 days a week to TikTok and YouTube. And a lot of those things I can use the same videos for, although I am doing a fair amount of like aesthetic style videos and reels and stuff for Instagram so that my Instagram homepage looks pretty. We're just going to say it. Just need it to look pretty. I would visit other authors, again, in your genres, pages to see what they're doing, see what's important, see what's working for them. You don't have to copy them exactly, but it is good to kind of see where your market is. If you're freaking out over the idea of posting daily, again, start where you can. Start by just posting regularly if that's once a week for you. But I think it is something we all need to accept that we will have to post very, very frequently. And that is just a part of this. And you got to put the space in for that. I could write all day, every day, and just focus on that and create endless amounts of books. But I am learning. I will write this portion of the day, and the other portion of the day will be put towards marketing stuff. And that is just a discipline that I am giving myself that I need to do. I have noticed in all of the authors that I'm following that character art is really important. So that is why I'm putting some effort into creating a couple of pieces that I can use over and over again. Because if you will notice, like, authors will commission character art, and then they'll use that over and over and over again. You don't post that once and move on. You use that, or you use it to death, okay? Whether you learn to draw it yourself or you learn to create it yourself using stock imagery, or you commission someone, it's entirely up to you. I am going to do a video on different ways that we can create our own character art, whether learning to draw them. I have a lot of easy hacks for that, or using stock photos. Again, main thing is do not use AI art because that can really damage you. I have seen authors get themselves uninvited for book conferences for using AI art to create character art. So like that is the main thing. Do not hurt yourself by using AI art. We're going to go over ways that you can get around that and still have some sort of character imagery because that is really important right now. I am also decided that since I don't have a huge following online, I am working with basically a publicity company to do ARC management for me. So find readers who are interested in my ARC, and we'll be willing to do social posts and reviews and stuff like that. Because there's not really a point in running ads on Amazon, which is something we'll get to, until you have reviews. And ads on Amazon are kind of important. Ads everywhere are kind of important. We're going to have to learn that. We're not going to do that right now, but we are going to have to learn that. So I am working with a publisher. No, this is not the words I'm looking for. I am working with a publicist. There we go. And that is one of the reasons I'm trying to learn to do as much as I can for myself, because that's something I can't do for myself. So that's something I am paying for. And I did contact a number of companies, get their pricing, get the feel for what kind of readers they work with. And the one I selected was based off of like a combination of price and, just like the way that they portrayed their reading community. It made it very clear that this was like a community that was aligned with the type of book that I was writing. And so that's really important. You also need to set up a newsletter platform. I have decided to go with Substack because it kind of combines a lot of things including like the newsletter facet, but also you can do a paid subscription. So if you want upgraded content for people to pay for, you're not having to open a separate Patreon account for that. It seems to like combine a lot of things together. And so that's where I've decided to put myself for the time being. We'll probably go into a video about that at some point. Lastly, I am going to set up a website because it's generally considered that you should just have like a space where you exist that just has general information about your work. I am just going to use Card. It's a CARRD. You can do a free website or you can do a very low cost website with a domain. And it's a single page website. It's very simple. But at this stage for me, like I don't need things complex or expensive. This is not where I want to put my money because I think more people will be looking for me on social media platforms than they will be on just Googling me, right? So that's where I want to put my attention. I'm just going to have a website to exist because it's important to have at least a space that's yours. So those are my main things that I'm focusing on, which is a lot. Like, let's be honest, it's a lot. And we're just going to have to embrace it's a lot if this is what we want. This is what I want, so I'm doing it. No matter how many times I feel overwhelmed, we're doing this because this is what I want. Another key to remember in all of this, it's super important to keep writing, to write your next book and your next book. Because ultimately, you can do all the things that are involved with getting this book out, but writers who are making a full-time living doing this or a part-time living are doing that because they have multiple books out. And it's most likely going to take several books to really start earning an income. If you're doing a series, it's often shown that you need to like finish that whole series before you really start to make money off of it. So we got to keep writing in the midst of all of this. That is extremely important. So I am doing my best to do daily writing. Sometimes editing overtakes that if I'm working on something like that, but I'm trying to consistently write as much as possible each week. So that is the totality of what I am following today. Again, I'm sure there are things I don't know about or I'm not thinking about that are going to come up along the way. We'll do more videos along the way to figure that out. If you want the full unedited version of this video I'm doing right here in the background for these character arts, that is going to come out probably next week. And it will be more of a vibes video where you just can have me on in the background drawing if you want to look at the whole process of how I do this. And then the goal after that is to have a video on different ways you can make character art and also formatting. So like and subscribe this video if you'd like to have more information on self-publishing, if you'd like to join me for this journey. And also keep an eye out for East of the Moon. Pre-orders again are coming on July 17th. We're going to have a cover reveal on August 27th, and then books will go live for sale on October 15th. These are the goals, people. And I would be so happy if you joined me.